Hey, hello.
Hello, how are you today?
Hi, not too bad. I'm figuring out the video here.
Yeah, no problem. Take your time. There, I can see you now.
Hi there.
Well, welcome so much. I'm so excited to be able to meet you virtually and talk to you today. Thanks so much for your time.
Absolutely. Happy to talk to you.
Thank you. So I'm sure you're aware that Vikings Valhalla season 3 had like about 6 million streaming views.
Yeah, well, is it 6 billion minutes? Or I don't really know
I'm
how
not sure.
it's.
I saw a six.
Yeah,
I thought it was
yeah.
six. Is billion really? That's even
But
more.
it
That's
was six.
crazy.
I thought I read 6 billion minutes watched or something, but I'm not
Oh,
sure. Yeah,
okay.
just the counting and how it's. But
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
not
if
sure how they do that either, but that's
yeah.
totally incredible. Were you pretty excited when you saw that?
Yeah, well, it's weird, you don't really, I don't really know how it makes, it's too big to really grasp what it means, if you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying. It's sort of, to me, it doesn't really change, it's the
Oh,
same thing. I just have the friends of my mum. Maybe there's more of them that have now seen me as well. But
well,
apart
I
from
think
that,
that
there's
you
not
have a
much.
lot of fans. I don't think just the friends of your mom, but so did you have any idea that it was going to be that big when you were filming? Because didn't you film like, was it 3 years ago?
Yeah, 2022,
Yeah, so that's
spring
a long time to wait
2022.
for something to come out.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I'm still sort of growing a lot in my career at the moment. So for me, this is the first kind of big, or at least more mainstream performance. So it was a
Right.
bit annoying as well to have it sort of 2 years waiting there somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But
Well,
in some ways, it was nice as well because I'd kind of forgotten a lot about what we'd actually filmed. So it was like watching it all again from sort of an unknowing eye. So that
right.
was always interesting as well.
Well, your character, Steve, is a very interesting person, being he comes, kind of from a broken home because he lost his wife and his daughter, and he kind of finds refuge with, Freydis and her son, but he's also a healer and he kind of has a tender heart because he really kind of
Mm.
takes her son like under his wing and everything and really cares for her and her people. So it's kind of
Yeah.
a very interesting man, interesting character to play.
Yeah, I think it's also there's not that much. I mean, the Viking shows they have a lot of that really cool masculine side, let's say, the sort of
Yes.
more warrior-like strength. And I thought it was interesting. It was very nice to bring, a character like Stieg who has a bit more of a maybe less aggressive approach to life, at least in this time of his life. And really cared for the people that he decides to stick with in that Jomsborg village when he's sort of taken in and becomes a bit of a the father figure that the son never had there.
Right, right. Then he kind of needs one too. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, I think I really like that. We spoke with Jeb Stewart. I remember I had a conversation. He's the showrunner, and I think originally the character was gonna there was a bit more fighting here when John Borg's the village is attacked, and we tried to and I think he came up with this nice idea to then show the child. He asks me about what it's like to kill a man and if I've ever killed a man, and we sort of
right.
wove that together as in you do what you have to do, or when you have to do it, and then so from an angle that wasn't just let's just kill and nothing happens. It's really sort
Right.
of, yeah, you only do it if you really need to do it to protect the people you love.
Sure.
And I think for Stieg that was really where I um what I liked about this Viking character so much, that he seemed to be an inner calm and peace, but had the capabilities of being absolutely lethal when he has to.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of like what was so attractive about him, regardless of his physical appearance, because obviously he's very attractive that way, but he had more depth to him than just like, fighting and killing and pillaging kind of thing that Vikings usually that's like the role, I guess their role in many Viking shows. And even I don't know if you ever saw the AMC Viking show. Did you ever see that one?
Was that the original one?
Yeah, the one before Vikings Valhalla, it was Ragnar.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
That
Yeah, I
one
love
was
that.
like really,
Yeah.
I mean, not that Vikings Valhalla doesn't have its violence and fighting and death and whatever, but that one like really like there was it was a little too much for me, like with the sacrifice of people and
Yeah.
whatnot. I was like, wow, that's I mean, and I'm sure that, if that's what their culture was, and that was more of a truer depiction of, what they were. But yeah, just the more getting more into the characters and what they feel and think in Vikings Valhalla, like is for me, it's more attractive to me and more appealing to me. And I really like, beyond your character, Freydis herself, like being such a, if you think about it, a trailblazer to be a woman in that kind of power back then, So
Mm.
I mean, she was
Yeah,
so
she's quite a
such a
character as well, isn't
caring
she?
person too. So, and what
Yeah,
was
yeah,
it
no,
like to work with Frida?
oh, she's great. I think we connected very early on, quite well. I met her. We did a chemistry test in Sweden, where she was at the time, because she is Swedish, I think. And yeah, I met her there, which was a bit sort of because I was still auditioning, So, but she was very, very kind and she's very generous in her acting as well. And the first scenes we had to shoot together were the ones of the feast, where everything is sort of happy vibes and
Oh,
beautiful moments. And I don't know, she's just she's very professional as well. She knows what she
mhm.
wants, what she likes, and she thinks a lot about, I mean, at least that's the impression I got, she thinks a lot about everything. And that was fun because it really felt like we could talk things through and sort of brainstorm together in a very very how would I say it, a fruitful, encouraging environment.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, and apart from that, she's just a very fun person.
Yeah.
Yeah, really liked working with her.
Well, she seems like a brilliant actor just from watching her on the screen for
Ah, she's
sure.
amazing. Absolutely, yeah.
So, what were your experiences like on set, and like once you got that role, like were you when you go on, or do you still, I know you said you're still developing your career, so you still like get butterflies, get nervous, like over prepare, like how do you do that?
Oh, I was nervous. I was nervous.
Yeah.
At first, I was nervous. Um, it's interesting because I mean, I really looked forward to doing the Viking. I always thought it'd be really nice if I got to do something Viking-like, because I mean, my hair's a bit shorter now, but I've always looked a little bit like that stereotypical Scandinavian, I
Yeah,
don't know, Viking look, I guess.
absolutely. I would say so.
And so I was really looking forward to it, and I really loved my character. I loved the scripts as well. But when you get there, it's so big. Everything is the I would say the disadvantage of the size of it, even though they really give you the time you need to meet anyone that is, relevant to doing your job as well as you can. It's still a big machine. It's a
Yeah.
it's they've been doing it for a very long time as well, because a lot of the people are on board since the very first Viking show as well. So they
Right.
know what they're doing. And you're just a new guy, and you're sitting in your trailer and you're sort of waiting for them to come and get you. The costumes look amazing. And then you get to those locations as well. The whole village is I mean, they're real. Nothing's fake about them. They're
Wow,
made out
that's
of wood.
amazing.
They're entirely, so in that sense, you really feel like you're living, well, you've got to act less because it's so real.
Oh,
But
wow.
I still remember the first couple of shots we did. I was nervous, because it's just, you don't know the people, you don't know.
Sure.
There's a part of you that goes a bit like, what am I doing here? How did I end up here? Am I even good enough? Are
Yeah.
they gonna see I'm just a fraud? But then you get going, and yeah, that's the cool thing, I suppose, about our job is, if you manage to get into that flow, into that, fantasy world, you forget everything else. And that's what happened. Like I said, Frida was very, very generous, and so it really felt real. We were in that world, and I think from then on, it was just mostly just joy, hard work, but very
Yeah.
joyful hard work.
Well, you can tell that everybody worked very hard at it because I mean, all their roles are so convincing. It's just sometimes when I'm watching a movie or a show, I can really like somebody, but yeah, I can kind of tell they're acting per se. If someone makes me forget who they are outside of their character, then yeah, I mean, I think that's really also
No,
difficult. But yeah, you guys were like really, really like straight on for it. That's for sure.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, I didn't get to meet all the actors of the show, but the ones I did meet, there was just this common feeling of how do we make this as good as we can. And
yeah.
so very professional approach, and very friendly and very professional. So I think, I
Well,
mean, as
good
having,
writing too. I mean,
oh,
the whole
absolutely.
storyline was really very good. So.
Yeah, no, fantastic. I think that's Jeb in big part. He's yeah, he's a bit of a genius.
Yeah, well, you can tell. So I did you start acting when you were younger and then like veer off and decide to do some of that, do your kite surfing? Because you were, I mean, clearly you're an athlete and are an athlete. I know
Yeah,
you don't do it
so
anymore, but I know you did.
yeah, my so my mother, she's an actress in Belgium. I grew up in Belgium.
Yeah.
My father's an architect, so we always had a bit of a an artistic home, I'd say. But I even though I started acting when I was young, I did some theater. I remember when I was maybe, yeah, 14, 15, I was asked to sort of do a bit of a paid gig that would be more regular, in a theater company in Bruges. But then I kind of felt like it was just cooler to be a kite surfer, you know. So
Well, it sure
I,
looks great.
yeah, well, I think my, you know, it's sort of with the friends I was hanging out with, everyone, we were just very much into kiting then, and I thought, you know, this is the thing I want to do, but then well, I mean, I had an amazing experience doing that, you know, traveled the world for years and competed all over the world and had some
That's
great
incredible.
results as well. So for me, that was, I mean, I don't regret any of it. Quite the contrary. I had an amazing time and met a lot of incredible people and places around the world. But at some point, it becomes more of the same. It's like, you know, I've done that a couple of years. I won a world championship, which was my sort of ultimate goal. And
Yeah, that's
once you've
incredible.
done that, you're like, am I now going to try and do it many more times? It didn't sound quite as exciting as you know, other stuff that was out there in the world, let's say. And so, you know, bit by bit, I felt again attracted to the acting in general. And then when I got back to it, I felt very untrained. I felt very, you know, scared in many ways. I was like, this is weird. I think I should be good at this, you know, and I feel like I'm not. So so I got very interested in seeing how to train because it's so different coming from a sport back into acting.
Oh,
In a sport,
sure.
you're sort of entirely in control of I mean, it's all in your head, the hard work, and you just have to show up and do the
Sure.
training every day, even if you don't feel like it, if the weather's bad, whatever. And I think for me in acting, when I started out, the main lesson at first was how to be okay with not being in control, you know, how to let go
Okay.
of that desire of being in control.
Right.
And yeah, it's some fun time, you know, just studying. I actually really took my time because I don't know. I wanted to rather train for too long than start too soon and feel like I wasn't ready for it. So
Right.
I really took my time. I was lucky as well that I'd had a previous career, so I could sort of sustain myself through some years of just exploring. And I yeah, I absolutely fell in love with the industry and acting in general. Yeah.
Well, I think the industry is just gonna, completely embrace you because you were just absolutely. I mean, sorry, I'm gonna gush a little bit, but I'm a fan. But you were really, really good in Vikingsville. I mean, it was just amazing. After I watched that whole season, I was just like, and then it
Oh,
was. Then I read online, there's not going to be another season, and I was a little sad.
yeah, it is
There's like
sad.
all these people on, on the social media and Instagram, like you and Frida and other people's, like Sam, and they're like, "What? There's no season 4?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And
Yeah,
then
it's a pity. There's so much that could have happened, you know, in the next season. So yeah,
true, true. But I mean, I do understand, when they have to move on from a show or whatever. But it's funny the comments that people make, and some people are there's a lot of people that are like unhappy with endings of shows, and I'm always just kind of grateful they don't kill the people I love. I'm like, oh, they're alive.
yeah,
I'm good. But other people are very, yeah, it's interesting to read, and so a lot of stuff on social media. It's like you've got to
yeah. It's
kind of
nice
sift
to see
out the
how
bad.
engaged you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so what stands out for you as an actor? Like, what do you love about it best? What is it? Has it taught you anything, or is it still teaching you things?
Yeah, I mean it's always a bit of a personal exploration as well. So that part of it is never ending. I think it's a bit, I suppose in everyone's life, you're always trying to figure out who you really are. And I feel like
True.
as an actor, we're so blessed that we get to explore that for a job as well, you know. So and that's just a never-ending story. It's like I feel connected to every character I've played so
Right.
far. And I think I probably always will, even if it's a villain or whatever it is. There's always a side of you that has some of that, there, and it's all about, who do what parts of myself do I focus on, and then you go and explore that a bit, and sometimes it takes you to a darker place, and other times more of a joyful one. And I always thought of myself of not being a method kind of actor. I thought, I'm going to separate those two, but I did grow to realize that often it's not as easy as you think. You think you're separating them, but in reality, you're kind of morphing in. It's, at least in my case, I don't always feel like I'm capable to entirely be different to the characters I'm prepping or working on at the time. But yeah, so that's one side of acting that I love, just the exploration of the psychology, the human psychology, the nuances, the sort of hidden desires. You say one thing, you might think something else. I've always liked that and I still like it in real life as well. It's just sort of like, it's intriguing to think what people really mean with what they say, and it's
Oh,
often
that's
not what
true.
they say.
Right.
So yeah, I've been interested in that, and I think storytelling in general is, there's something almost religious about it in some weird way. It's I'm not saying religion as in like maybe more mythological about it or something. It's more of it's like the foundation almost of us humans, the way that we talk, that we communicate with each other, the way that we share experiences. Everything is somehow grounded in storytelling, and the I'm not quite sure exactly how or what the effect is on everyone's life, but it has always felt very powerful to me, and the just to be a part of, let's say, analyzing and the best bits of different worlds that you can then try to put into a project and sort of um, create a little bit what feels to me sometimes like a little bit of magic, and have people
Absolutely.
feel like they can live lives they don't have, or that that are just different to theirs. That to me is, yeah, it's a very powerful, it's a very powerful experience working on these things. But it's just in itself, it feels like a very central thing to us humans.
Right.
So yeah, it has a lot of meaning to me in general. Apart from the acting part, it's sort of like, oh man, I'm so blessed and so grateful to be able to do something in this. It's way bigger
Right.
than I'll be able to understand, or but just, I don't know, try and understand some bits of it and have it affect me. Try and see how it can affect others. Try and look for ways in which it could be positive for people who might enjoy watching what you're making. All of that
Right.
is, I'm very passionate about that.
Yeah. Well, I think it shows. And I think that people are influenced by, literature and movies and TV shows that do affect them and become part of their lives. Like there's movies that I saw when I was a teenager, like I'll still like throw out a quote, here and there. And depending on my audience, because, if it's a lot of younger people, like then they're not necessarily catching that reference. But
Yeah.
yeah, like, and I'll realize I'm like, I still quote this movie. I've quoted this movie 25 years. Why? But it's because,
Yeah.
obviously I liked it so much, or whoever was acting that part, affected me in some way. So I think that all that connection is really important to people. And
Yeah.
not just,
Music definitely
obviously
has
it's
it as
important
well,
for
right?
you. I'm sorry.
No, I said music absolutely has it as well,
Right,
right?
right, right. Well, yeah, and a large part of yes, I do love to interview actors and whatever for my show, but our show is a music show, and I've talked to musicians and bands probably since I was like 18. So that's something I love and is an integral part of my life. And I think music, movies, films, literature, those things really affect people's lives, and hopefully in positive ways. But, I think that, if you put out a good product, you're going to affect somebody in a positive way. At least I
Yeah.
believe so.
Did you enjoy the music on this season of the Vikings?
I did, but I honestly, if you ask me to recall anything, I'm probably not going to remember it because I just rewatched like a week ago. I kind of like went back and rewatched a bunch of, I think I watched like 4 or 5 episodes because I wanted to like revisit your character and see all the different things you did. Because I even though I watched it the first time, I think like sometimes there's so much going on that it's
Yeah.
like a little bit of a blur, and then I got to go back and like focus on the people I want to focus on. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I enjoyed it. I don't recall a whole lot of it. I
No, I
recall it
really like
though.
this Viking. I thought they did a particularly good job on this season, the
Yeah, well, now I'm
Viking.
gonna have to go back and listen again. So
Yeah, you should.
But yeah, I mean, I'm a huge music lover, and a lot of times if I really like a show, I end up buying the soundtrack too. So
Oh, that's nice.
are there any like particular shows or things that you, I mean, obviously you're a busy person, but do you have any like downtime? Do you have hobbies? Are there certain shows or movies you really like?
Well, I'm not much of a binge watcher at the moment. I'm actually going through some. I'm trying to make my way back to sort of present time. So I've started with the very old movies again, and I'm trying to sort of pick the more iconic ones up, and I'm trying to
Oh,
work my way through the different decades. And but I've got a long way to go, So
well, what do
that's
you
sort of
currently, what have you currently watched that you've really enjoyed?
I was watching Citizen Kane and like these
Oh,
kind of old,
no way.
oh
That
yeah
is
back
really old.
yeah and I want to get the best of every decade and work my way back, and then maybe later hopefully I'll be able to catch up with the stuff that is actually being made at
Yeah.
the moment.
Well, that's a lot of movies. I really like, I mean, I do like old movies. I really like, I don't know if you remember the Kim Novak, Jimmy Stewart movie, Bell, Book and Candle. Did you ever see that? Like, oh, it's almost
I
like a
don't think.
Hitchcock.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend that.
Nice. Okay, I'll
She's
take that.
Jimmy Stewart, obviously a great actor, but
Yeah.
Kim Novak, she's really good. It's kind of like this interesting premise, like she's part of a she is a witch, her brother's a witch, and like you're not really supposed to tell people, but then this writer like connects with her brother and he starts telling him like all the witch. It's just really interesting. You have to check
Hmm.
it out. There's a
I'm
lot going on
intrigued.
in that movie. So, but Kim Novak is like, I think
Yeah,
she's still
lovely.
alive
Thanks for
too.
the recommendation.
I'm
Mm.
sorry.
I said thanks for the
Oh
recommendation.
yeah, I mean, we could talk for like an hour. I could tell you all the things that I think you should watch, but sorry, I won't.
Maybe we should.
No, I don't know about that. That's just my opinion. But I mean, I did do, not that it's super important, but when I was younger, I did some acting, in high school and junior high. And when I went into college, I thought, oh, I could do broadcast news. Like that'll be like acting, right?
Mhm.
Kind of.
But
But then, and then I don't know how familiar you are with like the MTV era. Like when I got out of college, I wanted to be an
yeah.
MTV
Oh yeah.
VJ, like really badly. And it was like, that was the end
Nice.
of, MTV. It was stopped.
Yeah, I came to Europe as well. MTV was sort of the cool channel,
Yeah, yeah. It was like, well, I mean, it came out when my friends and I were teenagers, and it like all those videos like really influenced our musical tastes, and also I think like clothes we wore too. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
really interesting. But yeah, I wanted to do that. So but
So why didn't you?
well, I did try, but then MTV just kind of like stopped doing video. They didn't really do
So
music
you do your
videos.
own show now. You've
Yeah, right.
sorted.
So right,
Yeah.
a million years later. But yes. So it's funny. That's funny how that works out too, because when I was younger, I was in music and I did do things, and I did work for a record company for a long time. But I always wanted to have my own radio show, whatever. But it came later in my life, but that's okay. At least it came. So I'm excited. I love it. So all right, what else do I want to know? Okay. Uh, so as far as the roles that you've played, like, do you have a favorite role? Is there a character you'd like to play or a project you'd like to be involved in?
I mean, yeah, there's too many to name. There's
Yeah.
so much. There's so much out there. I really liked Stieg. I really like the character playing
Yeah.
him, and it's he's so calm. Maybe that was calming to me as an actor as well, just to play a calm character with all that potential inside. I mean, I also discovered, I think, throughout shooting this, that I really like action scenes as well. I
Yeah.
haven't done much of it, yeah, but the stunt work and the team on this show, they're really cool people as well. They're like a big family, and
Yeah.
they're really passionate about what they do, and I really like that. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe I'll get the chance of doing some more of that as well.
Yeah.
Some more
Well,
action
so as
scenes.
far as stunts go, like, I'm assuming it's slightly difficult to do and physically demanding. Or did they give you an option? Like, did you have a stunt double, or were you just like, I'm just going to do it and hopefully I don't hurt myself?
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes it's you want to do more than they let you as well. On this
Okay.
show, they were quite flexible. They let me do as much as I wanted.
Yeah.
But I suppose it would just be very expensive to them if I hurt myself and then couldn't
Oh,
continue, you
true.
know?
True. Yeah, good
So in
point.
some ways, it's a bit like, you know, I think you have to be really big, you know, kind of Tom Cruise level to be
That's
able
what I
to
was
do.
thinking about, because doesn't he do a ton of his own stunts, and he really doesn't need to.
Oh man, and yeah, I mean, he loves it, and
I
he
know, but
can.
I worry about him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's fantastic to be able to do what he does, though. I'd love
Sure.
to, if you can get to that level where you can. Well, I suppose he can injure himself and still have a
Probably
big
has, and
enough
we just don't know.
mind,
So,
and he probably has as well. Yeah, to just take the time to get back and then continue. But most shows they're not willing to take that risk, on me
yeah,
at least.
sure.
So yeah,
Well, I just
you.
know, like, at least, I mean, you're a little bit younger, but like, I think Tom Cruise is like 60. So I like, not that he's not in fabulous shape, but I know he's not my responsibility. But when I see him do those stunts, I'm like, oh, should you really be doing that? But I
No,
know.
but then, you know, for example, when I was kiting as well, a lot of this stuff is I mean, it's potentially dangerous. Some people have died.
Oh, geez. Yeah,
You can ask yourself, why do you do it? Yeah, and that's a fair, you know, fair question. I don't think there's a very rational answer to it. You know, often people do things because they love it, but rationally
sure.
speaking, they probably shouldn't do it.
Right.
I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie as well from
Are
time to
you?
time. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I've grown more mature, I think, you know, growing older. So
Yeah.
I don't take risk without the need for it,
Right.
or it sort of be worth the reward as well. But yeah, in general, I really like the more active parts
The
of acting as
physical.
well. Discovered that on this show, and I hope to do more of
I think you probably will. I'm like the opposite of you. So I don't, I mean, I do like to do fun things, whatever, but I'm like, I was dragged on roller coasters when I was a kid, and I didn't really
it.
like that. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
always
would have been that person dragging you onto it.
right. Well, it's usually someone in my family, but I'm not an adrenaline junkie at all. There are things I like. I did downhill ski when I was in high school, and
Oh, there
which
you
is
go.
weird because I don't like heights at all, but I did the ski lifts and whatever. And then I would just like hurl myself to like no regards for myself at all, like down these slopes. And now when I think back at that, I'm like, that's so not like me to just run down a slope straight. Cause you're not really supposed to go straight. You're supposed to, like
Yeah, yeah.
right down. But yeah, now I'm like, I'm just glad I didn't hurt myself.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was
you
a
have
lot
it in
younger
you.
then too. So when you get a role or you're going to audition for a role, like how do you prepare? If it's part, like for example, if it's based on books, do you like go read all the books? If it's based on a real person, do you research that person? I mean, I know Stieg is not necessarily a real person, even though Leif Erikson is, but
Yeah.
what do you do? Like, do you have a process?
Yeah, I mean, in this case, it was I was auditioning from season one for Vikings Valhalla. So I was
Okay.
lucky to be called. I got penciled, I think, a couple of times. So I sort of made it to the last round. And every time when they asked me for another audition, the role kept growing a bit, you know. And so that I felt like that was probably a good sign, you know, that
Yeah, yeah.
they kept calling me back, and it seemed to be more substantial. And then the last one, you know, for Stieg was the one that I got. In some ways, I think it's by then what I found was most helpful was just to watch what already existed. You know, I was
Mm,
lucky I could watch the first season and sort of see a little bit what's the tone, what's the style, is it quick? You know, sort of, you know, the style of the show. I think that was helpful. But in general, I'd say, I mean, in this case, I also did my research on the Viking world. Because it's a nice excuse to now be able to learn about these intriguing worlds, you know, because you're gonna work on it. So
mm.
so it's sort of like, oh cool, now I can read all the books, and I definitely did, and then listen to all the podcasts you can find, and
Oh, yeah, I didn't
watch the
even think of that. The
documentary.
right podcast too.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that kind of research. I think if you're doing a character based on you know, you're playing in a real person as well, it's kind of your duty to get as much information as you can. I think
Oh no,
you
I
owe it
agree.
to that person, yeah, or to yeah. Although the Viking world is still there's a lot you can find a lot of information on it, but a lot of it is also unknown, and there were probably, you know,
That's
big
true.
differences between different parts of the Viking worlds as well. And then Stieg brings in this whole Eastern influence, which was super interesting as well to do research on, and, you know, find out about these very old religions that had always existed there, and that probably
Right.
had some influence as well to the more Western world. So yeah, I think you can't over prep with absorbing information on yeah,
Mhm.
on the subject that you're working on.
Yeah. I tend to over prepare for things anyhow. I feel the need to like make a list and pre-pack like 2 weeks out, 2 or 3 weeks out before I do a trip. Like I'm really,
Ah,
the
that's
older I
nice.
get, the more I'm like, I have a list. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like you get to enjoy it even more then when you actually do the trip?
For me, yeah. It's
Yeah,
like there's
yeah.
certain things I'm gonna need to take, and I need to. For me, I'm like, it's almost like I think I figured out this week. Like I didn't realize this. I was like, you ever they have these apps like the Calm app, and it'll come through your
Okay.
news feed like on social media, and it'll say like these, if you have these three things, you probably have high functioning anxiety. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what it is. I thought I was just over preparing for things. But I
Oh,
mean, it makes sense. But for me, like I'm not going to be that person that runs in late for anything. Like I'm probably going to be 15 to 20 minutes early, like because that's the only way I can be calm and be
mm.
prepared. And then I'm not like it's funny because a lot of people think I'm a really calm person, but
Yeah,
yeah,
you look calm to
I mean I am, but I have like a like I have a little bit of a bad temper, so
me.
I just try to
No,
like
but
I just try to like temper that and not like give in to like that impulsiveness to. So I try to like see a situation and like if it's a bad situation, like diffuse it, be calm, try to figure out why that's happening, kind of thing. So,
yeah.
but yeah, not that that's super
That,
important. You need to know that about my personality, but
no,
but
but that's a
because
good skill
I'm
to
super
have. Yeah.
extroverted anyhow, so some people are put
Yeah.
off.
But I think I'm less of a, for example, when I make a trip, I don't really like the prepping of a trip, but
No,
when I have it prepped, I really love it. I actually really like it. It's like, that's why I asked the question, do you enjoy it more? Because I think if I've read up about something I'm about to visit and then I visit it, I feel like I really enjoy it more than if
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know anything about it, and then I'm there, I'm sort
Oh,
of,
okay, I see what you're
like, yeah,
saying. And
yeah.
I'm the
So,
opposite. Like I want to Google it and I want to see what's available, and then I'll pick from the things I want to do, and then I'll find other things off the beaten path, not necessarily tourist things or whatever. Because like my husband and I really love Hawaii and have been there a bunch of times, but I don't.
yeah.
And I have done tourist things, and that's fine. But like we always like to try to find like local places to go eat, or
Mm.
And I have my parents lived there a long, long time ago in the '60s, and so I still have a couple of relatives there, not many, but like I have a little Chinese auntie, and like she takes us through like Chinatown, and we do different things with her because she knows the island because she grew up there. So
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. I've been to Maui quite a while ago. It's such a
yes, I
beautiful.
like Maui. I've been there. Beautiful. Do you like,
Mm.
so since you traveled so much, when you were doing sports or whatever, I read online that when you're not acting, that you do like to travel. Is there like one place you love a lot, like you and your family? Is it one place you always come back to, or do you like to find new places all the
I feel like I've had a period of my life where I had to travel all the time and sort of keep moving. And I think now I'm more in a phase where I realize, I mean, it's a cliche, but it really is about the people you're with rather than the
time?
place you're at. And so yeah, so
True.
at the moment I'm just, if I can spend time with my family, with my mother, with whoever is important to me in my life, it doesn't necessarily matter where I am. It's
As long
I
as you're
really
with them.
yeah, cherish the moment with them. And so I've grown, yeah. I don't feel the need as much anymore either to keep traveling and sort of move all the time.
Yeah.
But that being said, I still do move a lot. So maybe, maybe I'm also not made to sit somewhere and
Yeah.
live, months in a row without moving around. So I've got I suppose I do still enjoy the adventurous part
Sure.
of discovering new places
That's what I
and
like. Like I like to do new things, go new places. And I find that, during the week when I'm doing like my day job, like, I don't know, I just kind of feel like I'm super boring, you know? I'm like, oh, I'm so boring. I need to do something. Then people say to me, you do a lot of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I just want to like experience. I don't have to experience like I don't like the whole term bucket list. People are like, I have a bucket
mm,
list. These are things I want to do before I die. And I'm like, well, that's really morbid. Like I just want to go out and travel, explore places. And like you said, be with people, not necessarily the place, but the people. Like the most important things to me, especially after COVID, is I just want to be, healthy and happy. And I just want to be with the people that I love and care about because that's really what matters to me now. All the
yeah.
things that I thought were important before are really not that important.
Well, it's another one of those fundamental human things, isn't it? The connections that we have with other
Sure.
people. So, mm.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I'm like telling you way too much about myself. I'm sorry. But anyhow, I guess my last question for you, so we can wrap up and you can go have a life, is what advice would you give like young actors starting out? Like if you could give advice to them, what would you tell them?
That's an interesting one, yeah.
Mm,
Because it depends. It's sort of hard to give general advice, you know. It's sort of it depends a lot on each person, I would say. Um, I mean, I think sometimes one thing that people when you try to play it safe, let's say you sometimes don't go all in, and I see people do that sometimes, and I think
okay.
maybe that's a mistake. I mean, I wouldn't go all in forever. If it doesn't work at some point, you know, there's loads of other passionate things you can do, and you can probably
Right.
integrate acting into, you know, not without the necessity to professionally live off of it. You know, there's many ways that acting can still be very fulfilling to anyone's life. And you know, if you choose to do that, then you probably have an amazing, you know, time as well. But when you try to make it turn it into a living, or become, I would say, a professional, you know, I think you have to go all in. There's
Yeah, I
no,
would
there's
think
no,
so.
yeah, there's no, you can't do 50% or 70. And I see it around, you know, around me quite often. People are sort of, because it's a scary industry. It's hyper competitive.
Oh
Most
yeah.
people never make
So
it.
many
It's
people in it.
absolutely. And I guess it's also well, any industry that is just a lot of fun, there'll be a lot of people that are trying to get in.
Oh no, I
So
agree.
that's, you know,
People probably wouldn't
uh,
do it if it wasn't fun. So
yeah.
or lucrative, both, but you know.
Absolutely. People are willing to give up years of their life trying it. And I think that's amazing. But yeah, that'd be probably my advice to people. It's like, well, if you go for it, then, you know, just do it, go all in for a while, give yourself, you know, a couple of years, and see if you make progress. And there's always something you can work on, and some way to see if you can, I don't know, get more involved in, because the industry is big as well. Like we said earlier, there's storytelling, there's all kinds of different aspects to it, and you can keep growing in all of them. But yeah, I'd say go all in for a while. That's probably the better advice
That's probably
that
good.
I would
I think that sounds
offer.
like sound advice. So what if I can ask, you may not be able to tell me this, but are you working on something else? Do you have something else coming up? You know, what's next for
Yeah.
you?
Well, I just finished a Spanish thing. So I lived in Spain for a while, and
Oh,
I speak, my Spanish is sort of okay.
yeah.
And this is something for Amazon. It's called Point Nemo. So we did that for 3 months in the north of Spain now, which is really cool. A lot on a boat. That was challenging as well. Yeah,
I'll have to
I
keep my
yeah,
eyes open for that.
no. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun. They end up on sort of they strand on, it's military people with just civilians, and lots of stuff goes wrong.
Oh,
It's a bit of a sci-fi show.
oh, even better.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. But I'm not sure if it will have an international release, or if this is more sort
Okay.
of Spanish first, and then. But yeah, so we just finished that couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
That was
Are you
fun.
going to take a break or do you have another project?
Well, I don't have anything booked at the moment. I have a couple of options sort of out there, so it's sort of waiting to see what gets confirmed. And in the
Yeah.
meantime, you keep auditioning, and
Right,
but I'm
right.
also happy to, I don't know, it's summer, you know, I'm having a good time at the moment. So
Good. Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much for agreeing to this interview. You're absolutely lovely. It was such a pleasure.
yeah,
And
likewise.
and I I wish you the best and I'm gonna, try to keep following you and see what you're doing. So
That's very kind. Yeah, the pleasure was likewise. Absolute pleasure talking to you, and all the best with the program.
oh yeah, thank you so much. And I'll be in touch. I'll give you some info. So you take
Thank
care.
you.
You have a wonderful day, wonderful evening. And hopefully, you and I will cross paths again.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.